I remember, as I said just offline, is that I was there at the beginning of the Genius Network. The very first day, day where we got together and swapped ideas at your apartment in Tempe, Arizona. And I still remember that. And I'm so happy with your success and what you've accomplished, and with so many other people. It's just wonderful. You know, we talked, I believe at that time, we talked about the mastermind concept. And that's why, and you said, well, why don't we get together and mastermind? And so I flew over to Phoenix and taxied out to your house for the first time. And that's something that's so important in the Genius Network is when Napoleon Hill did his work, he said that every single person, the Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and so on, every one of them began to be successful when they began to mastermind with other intelligent people and just share ideas. And I've had the same experience, because one idea in combination with your other ideas can change your life forever. Yeah. You know, I'm happy to say, some years ago, about a decade ago, a publisher said, have you got any books or anything that we could publish? And I said, well, I've got a book on time management. So I sent them a manuscript, and it was called Double Your Income, Double Your Time Off. And he said, great publisher, Barrett Kohler. And he said, well, it's kind of a boring title. He said, but the chapter 15 is 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done faster. That's the title of the book. And he said, well, chapter 15 is entitled Eat That Frog. And this is a story from Mark Twain. And Mark Twain was the most successful speaker, writer, author in America for 3 or 4 decades. And he wrote this. He said, if the first thing you do in the morning is you eat a live frog, then you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that it's probably the worst thing that can happen to you all day long. And your live frog is your biggest, ugliest task. And so he said, just get up in the morning and just get it done. He said, and if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. So if you have 2 big tasks to do, do the most important. And then the other corollary is that if you do have to eat a frog at all, it doesn't pay to sit and look at it for very long. In other words, get on with it. Well, so he said, let's make this the title, Eat That Frog, and 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating, and then run the theme through setting the table, organizing the plates, and so on. And so I did, and sent it back to him, and they published it. And he just told me this week, Steve Persanti, my publisher, is that we just hit 2,500,000 sales in 50 languages.
Wow.
Makes me the best-selling time management author in history. And it has one basic concept for us with the Genius Network is pick your most important task each morning and start on that task and discipline yourself to work on that task nonstop until it's done, and don't do anything else. If you can do this, which takes tremendous character, takes tremendous discipline, takes tremendous mental strength. If you can do this, the first time you do this, it will be very hard. You will be so distracted and you want to check your emails and make a call and get some coffee and so on. And what you have to do is you have to discipline yourself to stay at that, wherever you are, and do that task until it's done. Then I say, give yourself a reward. The time management author, Julie Morgenstein, says, don't check your email in the morning. And I love that as a concept. So you get up in the morning, start on your most important task, and discipline yourself to stay at it till it's complete. Then your reward is to check your email. But unfortunately, what do most people do is they check their email in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening. They get up at night. They're just always checking their email. And each time you check your email, they estimate it takes 17 minutes for you to get back to work. It takes 17 minutes for you to get settled down and back to work and so on. And then somebody sends you an email and it goes bing, ding, bing, bing, and you stop and you check your email again. And the email is one of the most wonderful communications devices in the world, but it'll kill you if you just keep checking it. So what you do is you turn it off. I always say, leave it off, leave it off. Start your task and discipline yourself, and your big reward when you finish your most important task is now you can check your email. And if you can do that, what happens is you start to become so productive. So many people have told me that they became millionaires with the eat that frog concept. Just start and complete your most important task. But if you can't do that, by the way, you'll always have to work for someone else who can discipline you to do it. Someone who will supervise you, someone who will check on you. What will happen is you'll always be in the bottom 80% and never be a big success. And remember this 80-20 rule, it bites you in the bum all the time. And 20% of people make all the money. The 80% of people, why do you think we're having riots today? Who do you think's rioting? Certainly not the top 20%. They're busy making money. It's the people in the bottom 80% who are frustrated and angry and upset and so on because they have too many bills, as they say, too much month at the end of the money. They don't know how to get out of it. The answer is make a list of what you have to do, pick the most important task and work at it till it's done. Your whole life will change. Anyway, I just get on. People say, what's the key to success? You just had it. And there's no shortcuts, and it doesn't take any genius. Well, no offense. It just takes starting and completing your most important task. And if you'll just do that, get my book, Eat That Frog. It's and I'm not trying to sell books because you don't get very much with a book. But the thing is, the book is now 50 languages. Can you imagine that? 50 languages, 2.5 million copies. And by the way, it's probably closer to 10 million because there are several countries like Iran that don't pay royalties, and other have published the book without telling anybody. So it's published all over the world, but they cheat you on their royalties. So it's probably 10 million copies of it have been sold. And so that's my starting point, and everything else. Here's another thing, by the way, and I love what the lady was saying about values. I had a good friend, maybe you know him, his name is Mark Walden, and Mark came to my office when we were doing our coaching program some years ago, and he just dropped in. He lives in Northern California, San Francisco. And I said, so what's happening in your life? Was it a break? He said, well, I've come up with a new question. And he said, I'm just walking around teaching everybody. And the question is, what is my most important value in life right now? What is my most important value in life right now? And I thought, geez, that's a great question, because all of us think about values and are impressed by values. So I asked everybody in the room, what is your most important value in life right now? And he said, you have to ask this question every day, all day long for a week. Every day, just keep asking the question. Your first answer will be, love and truth and God and things like that. Just keep asking the question and keep drilling down deeper. Keep drilling and drilling until you finally, the most important value pops out. And that can change your life. And so what I did is I did the same thing. I asked the question for a week. What is my most important value? And the way you can tell your values are because of your behaviors. What you do is you look at your behaviors, and especially your behaviors under stress. When your behaviors in difficulty, you'll always demonstrate who you really are inside by what you do on the outside when you have difficulties or challenges. So I finally concluded my most important value is what the lady said, is freedom. Freedom is my most important value. And you know something? America was established by people for whom freedom was their most important value. And it changed the entire world. There is still no country in the world for which freedom is the organizing principle. Freedom is a concern for everybody, but Americans, more than any other nationality,
thank you,
love freedom. And so therefore your job is to have freedom. How do you have freedom? Well, one of the things is you have to have enough money so that you can buy the things that you want, that you can take care of your family, that you can provide for your spouse and for your children. And when you achieve freedom, more freedom, you feel happier. You have more energy. You have higher self-esteem. You feel more in control. And everything that you do moves you toward having more or less freedom. So that was a turning point for me, is that freedom is the key. And then I look at my family. Everything I've ever done with my 4 children and my wife has been to increase their freedom, give them more freedom, open doors for them, open up opportunities for them. So freedom is mine. So what is yours? That's a great question. And the way you tell is you simply look at, what do you do under pressure? What do you care about more than anything else? What is really your value? And it's a great question, great organizing principle for your life.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there. Yeah, but Brian, let me, and as you know, most Genius Network members are, have teams. Many have running multi-million-dollar businesses. What is the dark side of success in the midst of building and growing? What have you noticed where things become out of control, out of hand, where people start losing it? Because as you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, because of the success they have comes responsibility, obligations, messes, navigating things. And here we are in the middle of a pandemic. What have you found to be success traps that people have gotten themselves into that you would have any advice, suggestions, or insights on either how to avoid or how to navigate if you're in the middle of it?
Well, Joe, that's a really tough question, but you and I have talked about this subject, is that what is our ultimate goal in life? Remember the old thing is write your own obituary. Mm-hmm. You write your own obituary. What do you want people to say about you when you pass on? And I went for a long walk on a beach near Brisbane in Australia some years ago, and it was about an hour, 2 hours of walking. And I asked myself that question, and the answer that came up for me and never changed again is that after I pass on, I want, when my children meet someone who knew me, they say, "Oh yeah, I knew your father. He was a really good person." That to me was my ultimate goal in life. I knew your father. He was a good person. And I have never deviated from that. I never have done anything or said anything to anybody under any circumstances that would cause anybody to say other than he was a good person. And so you have to keep that in mind. See, this is the purpose in life. And one of the things that I learned is that success does not change you. It just makes you more of what you already are. It just makes you more of what you already are. If you're a good person, you become a better person. If you're a jerk, you become a worse jerk. If you're honest, you'll be more honest. If you're dishonest, you'll be more dishonest. So you always have to think in terms of long term. One of the things that I found, and I've written about it extensively, I wrote a book, by the way, a couple of years ago called Get Smart. And it has 10 ways of thinking that have been developed over the ages. And basically, it says that successful people think this way, and in this same way of thinking, unsuccessful people think that way. The most important, which I learned from Drucker and from many others, is long-term versus short-term thinking. Is really successful people think long-term. Unsuccessful people think short-term. In other words, they go for advantage, opportunity, making money. They're short-term thinkers, whereas the very best people think long-term. They think, where do I want to be in 5 years or 10 years from now? What do I want people to say about me when I'm gone? And so long-term thinkers, surprisingly enough, when you think and act long-term, you accomplish vastly more than if you're a short-term thinker.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
And the book, Get Smart, There's basically 10 different ways of thinking. One of them it comes from Daniel Kahneman, who got a Nobel Prize for it. He's an economist and a philosopher. And it was, what is it? 2 ways of thinking.
Think fast, slow.
Yes, thinking fast and slow. And what he says is basically successful people think slowly about important things in their life. One of the things that Kahneman sort of touches on, but which I hammer, is the word consequences. And consequences says, you always ask, what are the likely consequences if I do or don't do this? And everything in life is consequences. And the true measure of how really smart you are is your ability to predict the consequences of doing something or not doing it. Milton Friedman said the Nobel Prize winning economist. He said the quality of your thinking can be measured by how accurately you predict what will happen as a result. One of the greatest thinkers of history, a man named Frederick Bastiat, said the same thing back 200 years ago. He said that the primary consequences of everything you do are good. You eat this, drink this, do this, because the primary consequences are good, or why would you do it at all? He said, but it's the secondary consequences that are more important than anything else. And your ability to accurately predict the secondary consequences of a behavior determines your whole life. And so, for example, the people who belong to the Genius Network, one of the reasons that they belong, one of the things that they get is they get ideas that can affect their lives and work long-term. So truly superior people are long-term thinkers. And they make the sacrifice and they travel and they invest the time and the money. And it's all aimed at long-term results, consequences, what happens as a result of what you do, and then what happens, and then what happens. And so that's what you and I learned right at the very beginning, is we started exchanging ideas. We read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and how the mastermind was the starting point of success for so many people. And then we started doing it. And then it was sort of like a baton in a race. We handed off the baton and you took it and ran with it. And here you are.
Yeah. Which is awesome. And let me say this though, Brian, I'm looking at your Instagram right now. So you got 756,000 followers on Instagram. You got millions of people that watch you on YouTube. You've got all these books. You're the top selling audio author in the world. Every day, literally, your ideas reach millions of people every single day. And what advice would you give for the creation of the content? Because one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is people say content is king. Well, I think content is obviously valuable, but I think context is more important than content. And communication is one thing, but comprehension is another thing. Being able to put content out there, not having people comprehend it is a whole nother thing. And right. You have just put out so many people's lives have been impacted and changed by your ideas. And we have many people here that would love to multiply that and to share what their wisdom, their knowledge, and reach people not only for the selling and promotion of their products and services, their own companies, but literally just to impact people. So what advice would you give to be productive in that area? Because you're literally one of the most productive people on the planet in this particular area. So you obviously have a process and a system for writing books, for putting information out there. You've been doing it for many, many years. How do you do it? What have you learned that if you were to be able to download, here's how to write a book, here's how to put your ideas together, here's how to, because I don't know, out of all the books, have you written any books that you wish you would have not written, that you would have not put out there? Or are you pretty happy with everything?
Well, I'll tell you two funny things, but I want to start with the second thing is, many years ago, I was writing books, and I'll tell you why in just a second. And my people in my coaching classes, people in my seminars would say, well, how do you write a book? And how do you write so many books? And how do you have so many books? And I say, well, you just do this and you just do that and so on. And finally I said, look, I'll write it down. I'll write down my book writing system. So I wrote down 20 steps to write a book and get published. And I put it on my website, briantracy.com. And I say, look, if you want to learn how to write a book, go and get those 20 steps. And then my partners, you know Eric Berman, don't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, very well.
Eric has been my partner for 20 years. He said, Brian, we should create a really first-rate course on how to write a book and get published, because 64% of adults dream of writing a book. They fantasize about writing a book. They plan to write a book, and less than 1% will ever do it. And then less than 1% of those will ever get published. Why? And they always say, the reason is because I don't know how. I just don't know the process. So anybody here who's watching, who wants to write a book, go to my website, and there's a download. It's called Brian's Formula on How to Write a Book, 20 Steps. And it's free. Just go and take it. And here's the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3. What I call it is like a recipe. And again, it's one of the things that I've learned from you and from other people in the Genius Network is a recipe has a series of ingredients. And what you do is you combine the ingredients correctly. You don't cheap on this ingredient and ignore it or delete this ingredient. You follow the recipe and you get a good dish. And if you practice enough, eventually you'll be able to prepare a beautiful dish over and over again. And so, for example, when I was single, I found that I was going out to restaurants to have Caesar salad. And so I would meet a girl and I would invite her out for dinner and we would go to a restaurant where they served Caesar salad. And one day, and I still remember this, I noticed that the guy making the Caesar salad, and this is where they brought all the ingredients to the table and they mixed it all up in a bowl and they put it on your plate. And so he's mixing up the salad, and it was a very good salad, a very good restaurant, good salad. And I said, how do you make this salad? He said, well, they give me a recipe and the ingredients in the kitchen, and then they just have me do it. So I come to the table side and make it. Say, oh, well, if this guy, who was not very smart, if this guy can make a delicious Caesar salad, so can I. So I decided I'm going to get a recipe and I'm going to make a Caesar salad. And I did, but what I did is I tried to cheat. Is instead of using fresh romaine lettuce, I used butter lettuce. And instead of using freshly squeezed lemon juice, I used lemon juice out of a bottle. Instead of using fresh garlic, I used minced garlic from a bottle. Instead of this, I did that. And the salad just tasted crummy. And so finally, I made this decision. I remember this because it affected everything else in my life. I made this decision. I'm going to stop screwing around. I'm going to follow a good recipe exactly, and then I'm going to work with that recipe. And I did. And now I have a recipe to make Caesar salad. I am probably, immodestly, probably the best Caesar salad maker in the world. or very close. Everybody who has ever tasted my Caesar salad say it's the best Caesar salad they ever had in their life. And it has 14 parts, 14 steps, ingredients, the way that you mix them, and so on. And I have people who beg me, please make a salad. Come to my house at Christmas and make a salad. Can I come to your house? Because once they've had my salad, they'll never be satisfied. So people say, well, how do you make your Caesar salad? I said, well, you do this and you do that. And you put this and you put that and everything else. And I said, oh, what the heck? I'll just write it down. So I wrote it down because I have this passionate desire like you to help people. I just want to help you. I don't want to make money. If I make money, good. But mostly I want to make a difference in people's lives. So I said, okay, I'll just write it down. So I wrote it down and I put it on my website, briantracy.com. You go there, Brian's Caesar salad recipe, and you can download it. It's free. And everybody who's ever done that, they communicate with me and they say, I made that salad. I've never made a Caesar salad in my life. I followed the recipe, and everybody in my family said it was the best Caesar salad they ever had in their life. So therefore, if you like Caesar salad, go and download it. So I used to tell this story just the way I just told you. I used to tell this story in my big seminars, some of my Peter Lowe seminars with 10, 20,000 people. And I say, here's an example. And the example is that people don't follow the recipe for success. If you want to sell successfully, by the way, there's a seven steps that I have discovered and developed, which I teach 1,000 different ways. I've taught more than 2 million salespeople my recipe for selling. And many of those people have become millionaires. Chip Wilson is also a friend of mine. And he told me, he booked me, he told me, he said he was working as a yoga instructor in a small yoga studio in Vancouver, in Kitsilano, which is a neighborhood. And somebody put him through my course, and I had the course on video with workbooks and everything else. And he said, he suddenly realized that there's no future being a yoga instructor. And so then he looked around, because we teach the superconscious mind in that course, Psychology of Achievement. He looked around and he said, the money is in yoga clothes. That's where the money is. And the quality of clothes being produced, generally speaking, was very poor. So he just came up with this idea of producing high quality yoga clothes made with high quality fabrics, well put together. And the rest is history. As you say, he's worth almost $5 billion today. He told me when he brought me up to speak, we spent 2 days together. He told me that basically these ideas made him rich. Very, very simple ideas: to set a goal, work on your most important goal, unlock your creativity, and so on. He's a super guy. He's one of those guys that deserves to be successful. You're happy for his success when you talk to him. So this is so the key is get the recipe. If you want to be excellent in sales, 20% of salespeople earn 80% of the money in sales. Why? It's because there's a recipe for selling. It has 7 parts, 7 ingredients. If you follow the 7 ingredients, what will happen is it'll come out at the other end, just sale after sale after sale. And if you don't, it won't. If you want to be successful in business, you have to have a marketing plan. As our friend Dan Kennedy says, is that whatever business you're in the marketing business. And your success or failure, income, the size of the house you live in, car you drive, what happens to you in life is determined by how good you are at marketing your product. And marketing is attracting qualified people who can and will buy your product or service within a reasonable period of time. And what I just told you is the result of thousands of hours of research. Marketing means attracting people who can and will buy and pay for your product or service within a reasonable period of time. And so therefore, once you learn how to market, you can market any product if it is a sellable product. So people have to learn how to market. In selling, by the way, and I'll just give you this quickly, because I produced, after Psychology of Achievement, I produced a program called Psychology of Selling. And Psychology of Selling, according to their research, has made more salespeople millionaires than any other single training influence in the world. Psychology of Selling. And how do you get Psychology of Selling? That you go to Audible. You go to Audible, and there it is, and you download it. You download it on Audible and listen to it. There's nothing hard about that.
Well, let me do this. Don Cooper, go ahead and let me see if I can pin your video. If you can put that up on the screen again. He's got the, let me see if I can pin, well, I'm trying to, but
Psychology of Selling. And by the way, it's in book form. And I decided, it was such a big program, I decided to divide it into 2 books. One is Psychology of Selling, the other is The Art of Closing the Sale. And countless people write to me and tell me, OMG, OMG, it made me rich. It made me rich. You changed my life. You made me rich. I hear that so many times. You changed my life. You made me rich. And it's not because I'm a genius. It's just I found the recipe and worked with the recipe.
How do you get your team so engaged? What is your method of creating this?
So Peter Drucker famously said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? What I've come to understand is that I over-invested in culture. Culture is less important than I thought. And in fact, a lot of my mistakes was over-investing in culture. Let me give you an example. We built an office in Malaysia that made Inc. magazine top 10 most beautiful offices in the world. This office is a sight to behold. If you check out my Instagram, I just did a video of it. But if you go to the office right now, it's empty. Why? Because everyone wants to work from home. Nobody gives a shit about having one of the most beautiful offices in the world.
And I've been to the office. It's freaking cool.
Yeah. Here's what we do know. And we learned this the hard way. I wished I'd known this sooner. Working from home is a huge competitive advantage. But you got to combine some of these things together, right? So on LinkedIn, my COO just sent me this data. Only 10% of the job offers on LinkedIn right now allow working from home. 46% of job applicants on LinkedIn are looking for work from home. So we decided to shift. I was so attached to my office. I mean, imagine having one of the most beautiful offices in the world and then being able to say, you know, fuck it. We're just going to be a work from home company. We did that, and it accelerated the company like crazy. Here's why. Because now we are one of those 10% of companies that offer work from home, but we are getting almost half of all of LinkedIn's applicants. So now we're able to hire all of these genius people who, for some reason or the other, do not want to show up in the office. So I have this killer team. For example, my chief product officer just came back from speaking to the Pope about AI. He just won 5 awards at CES. He has 5 magazines in 5 inventions in Time magazine. He has a song coming out this month with Snoop Dogg and Idris Elba. He's my chief product officer. Why? Because he has that freedom, right? He can work from home, and I also give him freedom to work on all of these other projects. So I find smart people, and I'm like, okay, be part of our team. You choose your own working hours. I trust you. You can have side gigs. I just want you to really crush it at Mind Valley, and I'll give you recognition. And that's how I get many incredible people on my team. I have a young girl from Iraq who does videography on my team. On the side, she's making award-winning documentaries, but she still wants to be part of a team. So work from home has been incredible, more important than any BS cultural thing, such as education perks. People just want their freedom. So Daniel Pink, okay, he wrote several books on really elevating employees, and he said, you want to make your employees really love your company? Give them morning autonomy. So most of us, our lives are so shackled up by our work. You got to be up at 9, cut through traffic, skip your gym, skip time with your kids, so you have to show up at 9:45 for your damn early morning huddle. We don't do things like that. We give our employees morning autonomy. I tell them, we're going to move our huddle to 2:30 p.m. No rush. Take your time in the morning. Need to make a good breakfast for your kid? No worries. Need to work out in the gym? Need to meditate? Go do that. And people told me I was mad. But that actually creates this incredible amount of loyalty. And so freedom is one of the core values that we give our employees. And the side effect is I have crazy freedom right now. I am probably one of the most free CEOs of a company our size that I know, because I'm not bound to any shackles. I choose my own hours as my employees do. I get to work from home as my employees do. But we innovate like crazy. We get incredible results, whether it's our advertising team or our technology team, because of OODA looping and because of these other principles. So the ASST model, that's unique to us. The ASST model also ensures that we're not outlandishly growing our team, and we're being really focused on revenue per employee.
Yeah, and I think what's key about what you're saying too, because I think a lot of people could hear this and be like, yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. No more meetings, never have time in the morning, but you have to have really talented people that can build this stuff and make it all work. And if you don't, that would be very difficult. Because I've watched Elon Musk's interviews about working, and he's like, someone's got to build shit. You can't build a Tesla from home, that sort of thing. And so I've really looked at the pros and cons and different ways to observe it.
I mean, it depends on the business, right?
Yeah.
So if you're manufacturing, obviously you have a factory floor, people have to be there. But if you're doing stuff that's digital, it's not necessarily true. And this idea that employees are less productive when they're working from home, I don't know how true that is. We've not seen it.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's funny too to mention Elon. So we were at one Elon Musk meeting.
Yeah.
We were at
SpaceX.
One? Yeah, we went to SpaceX. I've been there twice, 2 meetings with Elon Musk and just a small group of people. And you had asked him, what is the biggest contributor to your success? And Elon, he was kind of an awkward dude. He's gotten way better speaking than back then. And he said, I can tolerate, I think he's talking tolerate
He said, I have
pain.
a high tolerance for pain. Entrepreneurship is like crawling into an abyss of darkness and chewing glass.
Yeah, he said, I can tolerate more pain than almost anyone I know.
Right.
Which is quite fascinating. And
Right. And I mean, God bless Elon. I think Elon's a great gift to the world. I don't want that. I want to enjoy life.
Yep.
So I have different rules as to how I do it.
No, totally. This is great. All right, so for the time we have left available, with all the courses, all the training, all the personal development, everything, Mind Valley right now, and for Genius Network members, I talked with him backstage about this. If you are a Genius Network member, you're going to give, you'll send me access, figure out how we get it to everyone, a free membership in Mind Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? What does that entail?
Okay, so a membership on the, so Mind Valley has many different divisions to it, but a membership on our app, this is the app that Apple has installed as a demo app in all new iPhone 16s in Apple stores. So it gives you access to over 100 of the world's most incredible programs in every aspect of making you a better human. For example, where's Vern Harnish, right? So Vern has a program on scaling your business to $1 million. This is for beginner entrepreneurs. That program is on there. At the same time, we have a program by Mickey Agrawal, the award-winning entrepreneur, on how to scale to 100 million. At the same time, we have Jim Quick's memory program and speed reading program, the best speed reading program in the world. We have all of these different unique programs from a variety of world-class authors, and these programs are based on microlearning. So even the Silva method, the program is on Mind Valley. And in 20 minutes a day, you can basically advance just about any aspect of your life. The newest program, I think, is of particular interest to many people in this room. It's by John Lee. He's an incredible digital marketer, and it's really about how to use social media for marketing, advertising, and branding. Incredible program, and it just launched. And so all of these programs are available for one subscription fee. We're like Netflix for improving your life. You also get access to 1,000 hypnotherapies and meditations. These are really high-quality audios that can help you boost your confidence, relieve stress, help you sleep better, all of that. All on one really beautiful app.
What do you charge? What's your pricing model?
So we charge $500 if you come to the website. We sell a lot through long-form VSLs on YouTube. So last year we had the #1 and the #3 best performing long-form ad on YouTube globally. And on those ads, you're buying it for between $300 to $400.
Gotcha. What do you think is going to happen with courses and education? How's it going to be, changed? What areas do you really see it changing dramatically?
So I think bulk subscriptions like this are going to be how people start consuming content. I don't think courses are going to disappear, but what's going to happen is that these courses are going to get a lot more intelligent, right? So for example, you might be taking Vern's course, but you might also be able to chat with an AI avatar of Vern and get the answers that you need. You might also be able to jump into a community and discuss with other students, pose questions, receive responses. They might be one thing that we're going to be getting to is every person who comes on our app will understand who you want to be, understand what your motivations are, and have a custom AI coach. And you can choose, maybe you want Dave Asprey's voice, or you want my voice, or you want Marissa Peer's voice. Have an AI coach guiding you day by day with the right class, the right lesson to help you get to your learning goal.
Okay, and so one last thing, what is the smartest doable thing that we've not talked about that you can share that would help everyone here make the most money?
Okay, the smartest doable thing, I think what I shared on UDA is probably what I've seen make the biggest impact in businesses. But the smartest doable thing is, like, find out when Alex Mendosian is going to pee. No. Find one person, right? One person who is a marketer, who is an expert in any type of marketing that you're interested in. Go really deep in their work. So many people come to me going, hey, how are you guys doing VSLs? How are you guys doing webinars? You're crushing it. And I tell them it's non-stop focus. Like before we had the #1 and the #3 long-form ad on YouTube, we released 42 different ads that failed. And it took us 1 year of learning to get there. The reason my advertising strategies work and demolish the competition is because we stick to one thing and we make mistakes, but we go really deep till we master it. And most people won't go that deep.
So what are the creative ways that you preload your year to get the most out of it for
It's a great question. So I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to like doing as much as I can in a period of time. And I do it because obviously I teach it to people. So it's like, I don't know if you, like, they always say like, if you want to get wealthy, help other people get wealthy. So it's like, because I'm teaching other people how to get more time back to live a pretty high quality life, it's kind of fun, because then I keep asking myself, like, how do I do it even better? So my wife and my friends are all like, this is great, Dan, you have so much time for us, because I teach it, so I have to do it. But what I have is a process for essentially designing my year, okay? So the first step is, at the end of last year in December, I review everything I do with my wife, like everything that happened in the previous year. My wife and I do a retreat, and we look at it and we ask ourselves, fuck yeah or never again. And it's literally that simple. If it's not a fuck yeah, we won't do it again. And I'm talking like family trips, blah, blah. We just decided, I'll tell you guys, we used to go home, because I grew up on the East Coast, live on the West Coast. We used to go to the East Coast every summer for 2 weeks. This trip, we decided, ain't a fuck yeah no more. They can come to us, and I'll pay for it. And I think you guys should give yourselves permission to do that stuff. Some of you guys are holding on to stuff. You need to create some space. It's not what you're doing, it's what you got to stop doing, okay? So like, we look at all that, then we look at all the requests of things we want to do, look at our bucket list stuff, look at, we made a commitment that like every 2 years we do like this big family trip with all our families, her family 1 year, the other year my family, 2 countries a year with our kids, all that stuff. And then we have this 1-page document that I'll give you. It's literally a template, and it's got all the months, like days, and we take the list and we put it into the calendar visually. I use my pen on my iPad, and I highlight. We have different color codes. So like red is Renee and I time, my wife Renee, and then like orange is work, and green is like my boys' trips, and like all that stuff. And then we kind of look at it like a piece of art and ask ourselves, does this feel good? If we actually did this year, would it feel good? And then we have the feedback. So like, I remember 1 year I used to do my vacations before my events. I don't know, how many of you guys run events? Show of hands. Okay, imagine going on vacation before your event. Dumbest idea ever. Never occurred to me to sit down and ask myself, does that feel good? So when we were looking at it, I was like, let's move it after. That's all I did. And then, wow, what a crazy idea. Now I go on vacation after my event. So literally after this event, I'm on vacation, and I am so present. The team is happy. The customers are filled up. Like, I'm good to go. So it's like all these little tweaks that I do. Other things that I do to preload my year, I put all my like business building stuff in there. So I put all my quarterly strategic plannings with the key people on my teams. I put all my events in there. I put the things I need to do to recharge, right? So if anybody follows me on social, I do snowboard trip, snow biking trip, mountain bike trip, and they're all spaced out throughout the year. And literally, and I'm not even joking, if today was my last day, obviously I'd miss my kids, and I love my wife, but that would be the hardest thing, right? I'm good. And I've been good for a really long time. It's a regret minimization strategy. For a long time, I've said, if today was my last day, would I be okay with it? And a long time, I couldn't say yes. But now, because I know that I've done the time with my kids, spent time with my family, spent time with my teams, you know what I mean? Like, and I just think being a little bit more intentional with a cool tool like the preloaded year, it just changes the game for your ability to get the most out of a 12-month period.
So what was present when it wasn't working that caused it to not work other than alcohol?
Yeah, no, alcohol was a big one. So I quit drinking 11 years ago, best decision I ever made in my life. I get emotional because I think of my boys. I grew up around it. I knew better. Dan, you should not drink. Oh no, it's okay, I'll be a social drinker, and fuck. If I was drinking, I wouldn't be with my wife, and my kids would have had to experience a lot of chaos. So I'm just like super grateful that God said, stop. Like, and so that was a big thing. But honestly, it was all the last minute reschedules, I forgot to do this with this person. Like, there's all these feedback loops that happen in our lives that should indicate to us that we're missing the mark a little bit. And it doesn't take a lot of work. I'll tell you a stupid example, but it's representative of the issue. Like, I have one of my best friends. I love him, okay? He read the book, said he read the book. I can tell you didn't really read. You know what I mean? Like, some people read books. I don't think you really, you didn't. And like, we'll go and do something and he'll forget a thing. And I'm like, dude, this is not the first time you forgot your thing to do the thing. And like, he'll have to drive 45 minutes back home to get it. I was like, why don't you have a checklist? And like, I know some of you guys are, I don't want a checklist. Cool. Well, then just be okay that you'll always forget a thing. I have a checklist. Does it take a little bit of planning to write down, like if Joe says, hey, I want you to do this, I say, and add it to our travel schedule, and we have like a meeting where we review stuff and we evaluate, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a little bit of planning, but because I do that, I don't have those conversations like, oh shit, it was my dad's birthday yesterday. Fuck, I'm an asshole. If I knew that, I would have planned, I would have went home, you know what I mean? So like, for me, it's all the times that I missed something, I wasn't on top of it, that was the feedback loop to say, hey, if you just planned a little bit, was a little bit more disciplined, because that's a big character trait I think most people are having a hard time with. They make commitments to themselves in private that they don't keep. Okay, there's two problems. This book's going to surface two things for people. One is that you'll never earn a penny more than you think you deserve. So the buying back of your time, it's not that you can't afford it, is you don't think you deserve it. And that's not something I can help out in 45 minutes on stage. The second one is that you lack confidence in your ability to figure it out. And the reason you lack confidence is because you don't keep the commitments you make to yourself in private. And you erode that. So until you upgrade your self-worth so that you realize your time is worth triple what you're saying it's worth, and you hold the commitments that you make to yourself in private, discipline, then it's going to be really hard for you to justify buying back your time.
Yeah. So that psychological issue of not thinking you deserve it, what needed to happen in your life in order for you to get to that place?
I think there's levels, right? It's like, do I feel like I deserve to be, like, I mean, literally when I think back and I scan, like when I was, 26, after 10 years of being an entrepreneur, is like, do I deserve to be a millionaire? Like really, like people say, you write it down, fucking, goals, you read all the books and like what, you write it all down. But as you write it, you don't believe it. Like that's just true. I can remember I went to a seminar and I wrote down the goal and I will be a millionaire, but I'm like, will I really? You know what I mean? Like I don't know, I'm not like good, and like, okay, I'll write it down, I'll play along, I'll visualize it. So there was like these levels of like, okay, I did it. So it's sometimes I wonder which comes first, right? Is it well, I know which comes first, it's the person who does the thing that gets the result. So at different levels, what I've changed, and this will probably serve a lot of people, I don't talk about this in the book at all, is whatever my goal is, whatever the number is, the outcome I want to do, the achievement, I don't focus on just writing that down and hold it in my mind, although I do. I'm a big visualization, manifestation, energy guy, like bigger than most people know. If you ask me, I'll tell you all about it. But what I do now is I ask myself, what's the daily standard that I would have to uphold to make that true? And that's where I've really learned to build my self-confidence and my self-worth. My self-worth is not tied to the achievement, my self-worth is tied to the activity. And Naval actually said this to me a long time ago. He said, be patient with results and impatient with action. Be patient with results, impatient with action, which means that if I want to build a 10 million a year business, cool, what would need to be true on a daily, weekly basis in my schedule? Because really, I can tell you what's important to you, right? If I ask you guys, how many is family really important to you? Raise your hands. I don't mean to put you guys under the bus, but here, check this out. If I looked at your bank account and I looked at your spending, would I see family on there disproportionate to what you just said, which is number one? And if I looked at your calendar, would I see that stuff in there as well, disproportionate to what you said? Because those are just realities. Where do you invest? So like I have a family coach, I have a parent coach. Like why do we invest in Genius Network? And for some of you guys, never even considered inviting somebody to coach you as a family unit, right? They exist. We live in this cool, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. And Joe, you know them all. Like there's literally an expert in anything you could ever want to do, including gifting, shout out to John, right? Like anything that you aspire to be, there's a person that will coach you and you can just pay them. Just, again, then there's somebody who's going to teach you how to outsource and delegate, and you don't even have to, like, it's not me, you can just hire them and do it.
And there's some people, they just, for the life of them, they want everyone else to pay them, but they don't want to pay for anything.
Those people have a fucking problem.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I don't know, they're not in this room, but let's say they're out there.
Yeah.
How you show up as a buyer is how your customers will show up for you. And if you're struggling in your business, it's because you're putting out shitty energy.
Yeah.
The amount of people we talk to that will not invest in themselves, but yet charge a premium for people to invest in them is fascinating to me.
Yeah, completely. There's so many people that are the pontificators of self-help that are too cool for school. They only show up if they're on stage, but they won't learn. And you know what? I say this a lot, and I've thought of this a lot because I started my first podcast in 2010. The first time I ever recorded a podcast was 2005, when no one even knew what they were, and it was a podcast on promoting one
They
of
didn't
our.
call them podcasts then.
Well, they had just started. Apple had just started. Yeah. But
Okay, this is Apple.
like literally, the first time podcast came out, so we used it as a promotion for our carpet cleaning super conference. That was in 2005. Then I started I Love Marketing in 2010, and you know, such a new thing, and it's amazing because I had been doing interviews since 1997, and so I've interviewed over 1,000 people for an hour to 90 minutes that we've just published. It's probably double that in terms of just, if you think interviews I've done at Genius Network and stuff. But so it's a lot of stuff, and what and along the way, working on my recovery, having all kinds of just challenges throughout a couple decades of my life. And spent over $500,000 on recovery, and I spent that much, acting out addictively too. So it's kind of I didn't calculate every aspect of it, but it was a lot. And so I did a lot of therapy, and I've done a lot of work, and everything from plant medicines to you name it. And what I learn now today is that many of the people, men and women, but a lot of my male friends that are not willing to do the work or go and get real help, what they do instead is they start a podcast. And
it's like free therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And they interview everyone, and everyone thinks they have their fucking shit together. But if you actually say, have you ever done any real fucking work? Have you ever, no, and so they do surface stuff. And look, everyone's got their own journey. I mean, I'm like, whatever. It's, people do what they do. It's just, there's something about, walking the walk and talking the talk. One of the, Joey, who gave you a testimonial on your book.
Coleman.
Yeah, his book's great.
Oh,
yeah,
his new one and his previous one.
And I met him, Michael Fishman, who I think is downstairs, had him speak at his Consumer Health Summit. And he said, I think it's him, or I'm not sure who, or maybe it's Garrett. Wait,
Gunderson?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, he's also buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Garrett. Okay, those who say, those who can't do teach, but not here. Dan did it, then masterfully taught it. A book on living a life you don't want to retire from and how to live your retirement dream today. So I've known Garrett for close to 20 years, and but it's true though. Those that can't teach, there's a lot to be said about people that are out there doing it, and I think I like it when someone's a convert of their own system. I think there's a different result when you actually walk the path and you figure out how to do it, and then you're able to transfer that to other people. And I think, and here's the thing on his book. Oftentimes I'll buy books for everybody in Genius Network. I mean, they invest a lot of money in this. It's, it's not that big of a deal to buy a book. What I like to do with this one, and what I'd like to do with John, who's I'm going to interview tomorrow, is I want you to buy the book. This is also on audio. If you prefer audio, buy the book. And then if you just read the book and just send me, like literally an insight, you can email it to eunice@joepolish.com. And just like, here's the big aha and the big insight that I got out of it. For one, I'd love to share that with Dan. I'd love for him to see what everyone's perspective. I want you to, up to your own fruition, go and buy the book and share that. And then I will make a donation to Genius Recovery in your name as a result of it for the cost of the book. Just because I want everyone to do it. I just don't want to give this book out and say, yeah, go read. Because I know all of you probably buy books at 10 times the speed of your rate of ingesting in them. And some of you, it's, but this one really is a good roadmap. And I think you'll learn a lot. So, And I think we can have a future discussion on this too, because it's really important. But the foundational stuff of that Dan teaches is great, especially for highly successful entrepreneurs, which all of you are.
Most of the time, speakers wait till the end to show the disclosures, so let me just take care of that right up front. Everyone got that? I'm going to begin by borrowing from the great book, A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. I went from being very happy to very sad in a matter of seconds. I left a big brokerage firm in 1999 when Mimi and I started our own wealth management company and began our entrepreneurial journey to this moment when I realized we had netted more than $1 million from our company. But just when I was getting excited, I scanned down the tax return to see how much we had paid in taxes that year. And I remember thinking to myself, you could buy a pretty nice home for that much money. And then I was overcome with doubt. Doubt about the way I was managing our own wealth. Had we hired the right professionals on our team? Was I making mistakes? Was I missing big opportunities? And even though we lived a great lifestyle, was it sustainable? You have to remember at that moment of time, I thought I knew everything there was to know about wealth management for entrepreneurs. So I started asking other wealth managers I respected, and I kept hearing the same traditional answers. Then I heard about something called a family office, the way billionaires manage their wealth. And luckily, I got introduced to a family office in New York City. I jumped on a plane, I flew out there, and I met with the CEO. And we hit it off, we just connected. And he shared with me how they would hire the best accountants, attorneys, legal, tax, insurance, and investment professionals working for that one billionaire and his family as full-time employees. I knew immediately that this was the best way to manage money for entrepreneurs. There was only one problem. You need about $200 or $300 million before that makes any sense. Then I thought, I wonder if I could create a virtual family office at a fraction of the cost for entrepreneurs like me and my clients who are making great money but don't yet have $200 million in assets. I needed it, it didn't exist, so I created it. First for my own clients and our family, and now we do it for every new client. I'm going to cover 3 things with you today. I'm going to cover the Entrepreneur's Virtual Family Office. So this is the structure, how you should think about your wealth management as an entrepreneur. I'm going to go over stress testing, which billionaires do and you should too. And finally, I'm going to cover some questions you can ask yourself for a self-assessment to see where you are in your wealth planning journey. First, the Entrepreneur's Virtual Family Office. If I can get a slide up here. There we go, perfect. So here's the framework I want you to think about things. I believe that entrepreneurs are the reason for everything great in this country. You're the reason for the economy. You're the reason for innovation. You're the reason for giving. And I believe you deserve to make rich real. Now that means different things to different entrepreneurs. So to one entrepreneur, it might mean something as simple as flying first class or flying private. For another, it might mean taking 3 months off a year to travel the world. For another, it might mean knowing that your great-grandchildren never have to worry about the cost of an education. And for still others, it might mean serving a cause you care about, both while you're on this planet and beyond, which for Dave Asprey is 180 years. In my 24 years of helping entrepreneurs, to make rich real, you need 3 outcomes. You need absolute confidence in your team. You need max wealth, both inside and outside your company. And you need sustained wealth. I meet entrepreneurs all the time. They had a huge exit, they made a lot of money, and they squandered it. Because as Joe said in the intro, it's a different skill set to make money than to keep money.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
To get these 3 outcomes, there's 3 main drivers. Entrepreneurs love to grow, but I'm going to leave that to third. The first is protect, moving from vulnerable to secure. Manage, which is moving from uncoordinated to worry-free. And finally grow, the part you're excited about, moving from incremental to exponential. So when you protect and manage, you get absolute confidence. When you manage and grow, you get maximum wealth. And when you grow and protect, you get sustained wealth. For each of these, protect, manage, and grow, I created 3 catalysts. And this is where the work is really done. First, asset protection. This is having a plan so your assets can't be taken by a lawsuit. Second is wealth transfer. So making sure the right people get your stuff and money when you're done with it at the right time and the right way without ruining your kids. If you don't have kids, your wisdom as an entrepreneur should be passed on through stories and videos. And then finally, the time energy shield. You should have a wealth manager on your team that protects you from other professionals, pitches, and projects. Under manage, business value. Your business is the most valuable asset you have. You need to get a business valuation to know its worth. You need a monetization strategy, which could be a high multiple exit, or it could be turning your company into mailbox money, where you live a great lifestyle and you go out to the mailbox and pick up a check. If you're under 30, ask an old person at your table what a mailbox is. So we can move to the next one. The next is the wealth wheel. You're going to pick up advisors and professionals over your life as an entrepreneur. You're going to pick up an accountant, you're going to pick up an attorney, you're going to pick up an insurance agent. Often they're not all A players. They're not talking to each other. And the worst part is you're in the middle trying to manage that team, and you shouldn't be in the middle. And then finally, the linchpin partner. This is who holds the whole thing together. This is a wealth manager who has 3 distinct qualifications. First, a specialization in working with entrepreneurs. Most financial advisors are generalists. Second, experience in working with entrepreneurs, at least 10 or 20 years. And third, a fiduciary standard of care in all dealings with you. That's a fancy legal term that means the advisor has to, by law, represent you and your interests before their own. Under grow, tax planning. Your largest expense as a successful entrepreneur is going to be taxes. You should have a well thought out, annually updated, and implemented tax plan. Investments, I put these in 3 categories: private equity, real estate, and stocks and bonds. You want to have a smart strategy for how you're handling those areas to build wealth outside of your company. And finally, the profit accelerator. Knowing what are your critical drivers to profitability, having a simple way to monitor and improve those key drivers, and by doing that, increase your cash flow. Second thing I want to cover today is the stress test. CEG Worldwide did a study of 199 family offices. These are families that have more than $500 million. And 93.5% of them do stress testing. What is stress testing? What does that look like? It's a deep dive with a wealth expert on everything that touches your wealth. So it's looking at your business insurance, your personal insurance, your liability coverages, your estate documents, your asset protection plan, your investment statements, your business tax returns, your personal tax returns, your P&Ls, your business operating agreements, your buy-sell agreements, your debt, and even the plans you put together for your employees. At an event like this, I get asked a lot, Jim, what's the first thing I need to do on my wealth management? You need to get a stress test by a qualified wealth manager that does this on a regular basis. We do it for all of our clients, and we do it to answer 3 questions for them. First, are you making any big mistakes? Second, are you missing any opportunities? And third, does your team consist of A players, and are they talking to each other? The third is the self-assessment. Within the 9 categories that I went over earlier, I created a question for each so an entrepreneur like you can find out where are you in your wealth planning journey. I only have time to go over 2 today of the 9, but let's do this together. So question 7 of 9 is this: how convinced are you that your annual plan for paying less tax is delivering on all the legal opportunities available to you? This is 1 to 10. 1 is bad, 10 is excellent. So 1 might be, every year the US Treasury sends me a birthday card. I hope that's not you. And a 10 would be, my plan is second to none. And most likely you're somewhere in between 1 and 10. Question number 5 of 9. How confident are you that you could completely forget about your wealth management and still know for sure that your wealth team is proactively driving your wealth forward? A 1 would be, it's a hot mess. and a 10, totally confident. We created for the 9 questions the Make Rich Real scorecard, and this is my gift to you. Go to makerichreal.com and you can get the scorecard. There's no required opt-in. I promise you're not going to be tagged, pixeled, prodded, or poked. A lot of smart people in the room could show me how to do that, but that's not the purpose of this. I'm going to leave you today with this story. My office manager buzzed me one day and said, Jim, Steve just called, and Steve and Joanne are coming in tomorrow, and they said it's urgent. And that concerned me, because Steve was a high-flying entrepreneur. We had been working together for more than 10 years, and Joanne never came in. It was always Steve. He said she didn't care about the finances, and that he handled everything. The next day, I walked into the lobby to greet them. First, I saw Joanne. Her face was pale, and she looked sad. Then I looked over and saw Steve. He was in a wheelchair, and his hair had fallen out. And I knew immediately that Steve had cancer. No one mentioned the elephant in the room. I got them back into my office, and as soon as we got settled, Steve went into the meeting like normal. Started talking about our plan and the strategies, about the professionals on the team. And when he finished, he looked at me and he said, very matter of fact, Jim, I've got pancreatic cancer. I only have a couple of months to live. Can we go over the part of the plan where I'm not here and it's just Joanne? I looked at Joanne and she had tears streaming down her face. So I went over the plan, the way it worked without Steve when he's gone. And when I finished, I looked at Steve and I was surprised to see this look on his face. This look of peace, this look of contentment. And then he looked deep into my eyes. And I looked deep back into his. And he simply said, "You got her?" I said, "Yeah, Steve, I've got her." And we teared up. A couple of months later, Joanne called me to tell me that Steve had passed. And as I hung up the phone, I said to myself, "Don't worry, Steve, I've got her." Who's got you? Who's got your family? You deserve to have a team of A players. You deserve to have a team that talks to each other. You deserve to have a team that puts your interests before their own. Now is the time to get the team that you deserve.
So as everybody knows, the world has drastically changed over the last 2-3 years. We will never go back to the normal, and business is not as usual. There is a war, and it's not the war in Ukraine or a war on drugs, but there's a war on consciousness. And the next step in this war is a global recession, and we're on the brink of it today. How do I know this? Well, besides going down deep rabbit holes myself, over the last 5 years, I've been invited to different groups of power and influence known as secret societies, and have gotten a firsthand look at how money and power is accumulated and influenced at the highest levels. The key players are not the politicians and the billionaires, but the shadow organizations who control them. What's going on in plain sight is that a deeply entrenched global power system is doing everything it can to preserve and expand its control and power through big tech and big finance. During the pandemic, this foundation was laid out for the next phase of this plan. Between January 20th and January 2020 and November 2021, 4 central banks pumped $9 trillion under the story of stabilizing the economy. 9 trillion. Just to give you an idea how much 9 trillion is, so just 1 trillion, if you were to stack $100 bills for just 1 trillion, you would be twice as high as the International Space Station. So 9 trillion would be 9 times higher than that. So what really happened with all of this money? Well, in the news, we saw stories about historic levels of unemployment, underemployment, financial insecurity, yet we saw the largest wealth transfer in modern history. In the US alone, there's $2.1 trillion for billionaires that amassed more wealth. And secretly, healthcare professionals and experts like this guy became the largest landowner in the United States. The deck is stacked, and now we're ready for this recession, or are we? Now, knowing that the next move in this war is a global recession, what can you do? Well, over the last 2 years, I've been putting together what I call the New Millionaire's Playbook, a guide on how to win this war and create a life of freedom, sovereignty, and abundance. And help redefine millionaire as someone who positively impacts 1 million lives. Now, in this 10 minutes, I won't be able to go through the entire playbook, but what I'm going to do is share the 4 keys that will help you unlock this beautiful future that we actually have the opportunity to co-create. Key number 1 is resilience. You need to protect your wealth. As an example, inflation, as most of you may know, is at its highest it's ever been since 1981. That means that if you are, it's at 8.6%. That means that if you are not earning at least 8.6% return on your capital right now, you're actually losing money. Most of us know that the banks aren't our friends, and they certainly don't have our best interest at heart. So the question becomes, how do we create a life and reality that isn't dependent on this broken system? So here's some of the things that I'm doing. For one, I'm diversifying my liquid and illiquid assets based on what's accessible and useful to me and my family. I want to be prepared for the worst case scenario, that either a real or a false flag cyber attack may take down the grid. Again, I'm not a doomsdayer, as most of you guys know. I'm an eternal optimist, and we'll get more into this thinking shortly, but I believe in minimizing the downside when there's a clear and present risk. Here are just a few of the ways that I am diversifying and mitigating risk, and you can too.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
Precious metals, particularly gold. Precious metals are an excellent investment because they historically beat inflation. While it's a slower and longer investment strategy, they are also a good form of security to preserve your wealth. So what you want to do is have some gold in an insured vault, and have small denominations at home, because worst case scenario, we might actually have to transact in gold coins if things do go crazy, which I wouldn't rule out these days. Next is investing in regenerative land and real estate. Land is something that you can't just keep printing. The government will keep printing money, but you can't keep printing land. And so one of the things that we're doing is looking at regenerative land projects that we can invest in and actually be able to grow food and feed off of the land if we need to. Self-sufficiency. While this doesn't directly affect our financial portfolios, I see investing in self-sufficiency as one of the most important investments of our time. I want to be prepared for the worst case scenario, like I said. So I'm looking at energy through solar, direct water source, permaculture to grow our own food. And we're, I sound like a crazy prepper, but we're actually storing a year's worth of non-perishable foods so that we could survive if things go crazy. And I'm also playing volatility in the cryptocurrency markets while mitigating risk. If some of you may remember, a couple of years ago, I did a talk at GN called Get in the Game, where I shared some of the secrets of how I was using trading bots to generate a profit in crypto. As a matter of fact, I went to my dear friend, Jason Fladlien, and said, hey, have you heard of this? And he politely shrugged me off. And then a few months ago, he has the biggest internet launch in history and makes $58 million doing what? You guessed it, using crypto trading bots to generate substantial profits. I'm just bugging you, Jason. I love you, and I'm so grateful for your friendship. I've since been investing in a company and product called Sigma that has been a secret weapon for me inside of crypto and blockchain. It has been generating up to 1% a week in yield despite the massive downturn in the markets, and will produce an annual return that will be greater than the rate of inflation. Key number 2 is transformation and using Web3 as a portal for change. As a lot of you may know, Web3 organizations are on the rise and are able to solve unique global challenges that have not yet been addressed. And to simply understand Web3, we must first quickly look at Web 1 and Web 2. Web 1 was the basic HTML, the first iteration of the internet, web crawler search engines, basically read-only. Web 2 has been everything from 2005 to present day, social media, mobile access, really having a more interconnected communication system. And then Web 3 is the new way of money, power, and also where the metaverse is being built and able to process complex information through concepts like the Internet of Things. I won't go too deep down that today. And then decentralization is an aspect of this shifting of power, because it's not going to be a centralized power anymore. It'll be actually decentralized power, which is spreading power and distributing it back to the people. So what does this have to do with the talk that I'm giving today? Well, with decentralized power comes the possibility of redistributing it and not repeating the same patterns that we have in the past. The past system was designed with unconscious and misaligned incentive structures. The new system will allow us to move from win-lose dynamics to omni-win dynamics. And some of you may have heard of buzzwords like DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations, and they will be paramount for this paradigm shift. And so we have a unique opportunity to be builders of Web3 and truly ensure it works for all. What am I doing here? Well, one of the things that I've realized as a venture capitalist is that especially during a recession, the best place to deploy capital is into mission-driven entrepreneurs who are actually solving real problems. As most of you know by firsthand experience, entrepreneurs are the most resilient SOBs alive. That's all of you included. And we're wired to weather the storm and find unconventional ways to win, especially when it is for a deeper mission. Right now, the entrepreneurs I'm most interested in supporting and bringing to the forefront are actually to the conversation are women. Why? Because I'm an investor and I look at the numbers, and just in the US, 40% of business are women owned, yet just 2% of VC funding goes to women founders. And 4.9 of all VC deals were women-led businesses. And McKinsey found that companies with the most women in executive positions actually deliver share performance and profits nearly 50% higher than companies with the fewest women. But it's not just about profit. Study after study shows that women leaders are more likely to drive engaged, happy, inclusive, and productive teams. They're also more likely to be role models for the change that they seek. Key number 3, the inner revolution. Focus on MEPS well-being. What is MEPS? It's your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. Often we ignore these vital parts of ourselves for an illusion of productivity and overworking. When was the last time you took a week off to focus entirely on your MEPS well-being? No phone, no email, no tech. If you haven't done it in the last 6 months, put it in your schedule before you leave Genius Meeting. This is the greatest investment you can make. So what am I doing? Well, for the days that I can't focus direct energy on all areas of my MEPS well-being, I found the best technologies that help me do so. Some of the products that have majorly enhanced my life and well-being over the last 2 years are the Oura Ring, which a lot of you are familiar with, Trip, which is a VR app that helps me move from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic nervous system, and also a new product and company that I've invested in called Vessel, which gives you your biomarkers when you simply pee on this strip and then you scan it and it'll tell you all your biomarkers. It's pretty next level. So why is this important in the context of the global power system and the war on consciousness? Because big media is being used to wage coordinated campaigns that fuel division, comparison, outrage, and disharmony for our nervous system. The only antidote to this external control over your biology is to claim direct responsibility for it, which brings me to the last key: power. Reclaim control over self. As I mentioned earlier, it's not billionaires or politicians who necessarily rule the world. To see how we are being controlled, we have to look at the many power systems that start at the top, which are behind the scenes. Those at the top of the power and control system use fear and the power to attain their means, and it's trickle down to the masses. And when we're in a state of fear, we don't make good decisions. We operate from a sympathetic nervous system and constantly active, and we're not as open and receptive to love. And what am I doing here? The antidote I've found to being taken over by fear actually comes from this really powerful book that I recommend everybody read if they haven't. It's called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. One of the viewpoints that I learned through here is this distinction between life is happening to me when we're in victim mode to life is happening through me, where we understand that we're an active participant in the unfolding of the universe. And when we're able to come from this place, we're able to co-create the reality we wish to have before our eyes. Simple exercise you can practice around this is think of a situation in your business or life that feels out of your control and not the way that you would like it to be. And then just answer this question. If life is happening through me, what is this situation asking me to do? So to conclude, the 4 keys are 1, build resilience, 2, invest in transformation, 3, focus on the inner revolution, and 4, reclaim your power.
You know, there's a lot of ingredients and elements to having a successful company. And I mean, you've had a very large, $100 million plus a year company. I mean, you've built some very successful things. I mean, how do you ever say to someone where to start? Like, because everyone wants what's the one secret? What's the one thing? Where's the area of focus? And the fact is, it's a puzzle put together in a certain way that produces a certain result. I mean, where would you start?
Well, there's 1 million words in the English language. If you don't understand this 4-letter word, you can't be an entrepreneur. You can't be a CEO, you can't be a president, you can't be a coach, you can't be president of a university. As I say, impossible to be an entrepreneur. What's the 4-letter word? Risk. H. No, you can guess all day long and you won't get it. H-I-R-E. Hire. If you can't hire, you're done. You're finished. You can't do it all by yourself. Can't start at the top and work up. If I'm running a 2-person lemonade stand, my next hire is the biggest single decision I'll make. We have 500 employees at the McKay Envelope Company, now called McKay Mitchell Envelope Company, a company I founded in 1959. So I've been at it for a long, long time. And anybody can buy an envelope machine. We make 25 million envelopes every day. That means you have to sell 25 million envelopes every day. And they're distributed in about 18 countries also, mostly though, the United States.
So you know a little bit about direct mail too.
Well, that's our baby. Just very, very briefly, because the Super Bowl is coming up in a couple weeks. Just turn on your television set, most of you will be watching the Super Bowl, and then just go get a Coke and come back in 30 seconds. And Coca-Cola might have been advertising, or Pepsi-Cola, for 30 seconds. Price, $7 million, plus $500,000 to make the ad, plus you're forced to buy 2 or 3 other ads during the year. Go pick up New York Times, whole page, USA Today, whole page, put your ad in there, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Go get my little envelope. 187 million homes it gets into, and it's dirt cheap compared to that kind of advertising. And remember, you can only use an envelope once, and then you have to come and order more. So it's a wonderful industry.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
a good business. But back to the book a little bit. Over and above all those subjects, I decided to take on truth and integrity and attitude and persistence, and they're all two pages basically. In fact, the real secret is just you buy it, put it on your nightstand. You don't need any sleeping pills. Just pick it up, boom, you'll go to sleep. But it will. Very proud of it. Swim with the Sharks is still selling 30 years later, 100,000 a year. which I'm very proud of. And
So wait, you're still selling 100,000 a year of this book?
in that book. 30
Wow,
30
30 years.
30 years later.
It's crazy.
Well, and then Times named it, that's the thing I'm most proud of. Along with Dale Carnegie, you've heard of Dale Carnegie, and Think and Grow Rich, you've heard of them, and Norman Vincent Peale, and Stephen Covey. I've got 2 out of 15 on there, so that's giving me chapped lips from kissing the mirror too much. you get real cocky when something like that happens. But believe me, it's what keeps you going, for sure.
Earlier today we did a tool called "What Pisses You Off," and so what disappoints you? What really? When do you get really disappointed and really feeling like, ah?
Should I lose? You know, you never talk about politics. Should I lose 50% of the audience now in one sentence?
It's up to you. You could.
No. Off and on, I get really ticked off. No, I don't even think I'll say it. I got to stay away from politics. So let me just see if I can. Can't win. You can't win in the political future. I'm a political junkie, and I've been raised in a political family, and spending my whole life with governors and senators and representatives and mayors, and so that's my side life that you don't know about.
Yeah.
So I'm a junkie. I'm addicted, total addiction to politics. But as far as what ticks me off or pisses me off more than anything, I would say I don't like the education system as far as what's happened, and you all know about the scandal, of course. One family paid $6 million to get their son or daughter in the USC. You remember that? I don't like that particular way. It's just a crushing blow for every kid that's got a dream in order to get into school.
Yeah.
And so you can get in the numbers, you can get in the criteria, you can get into politics, and I guess I don't like the way the world runs, let alone the United States runs, when you can just pick up the phone and get so much done.
Gotcha. So with that, how do you bounce back from, be it failure, disappointment, betrayal? I mean, what is your method of resiliency and stamina to deal with?
I appreciate that. You hit me in a straight flush. I just brought a couple papers from home just in case some of these might apply to what you asked me. I'm not sure. But I've had this long time. Back in Minneapolis, swivel around, there it is, hanging. It's just a copy of it, and this is what keeps me going. And I hope all of you have heard of it. I'm going to guess that maybe a third of the room has heard this before. You can't hear this enough. Anytime you feel like quitting throughout your career, perhaps you remember the story of one of our people. He failed in business in 31, ran as a state legislator, lost in 32, tried business again in 33, and he failed again. Sweetheart died in 35. He had a nervous breakdown in 36. He was defeated for Congress in 43, defeated again for Congress in 48, defeated when he ran for the Senate in 55, and defeated for the vice presidency of the United States in 56. Ran for the Senate again in 58, he lost again. This man never quit. He kept trying to the last. In 1860, this man, Abraham Lincoln, was elected president of the United States. Seems if we want to triple our success ratio, might have to triple our failure rate. How many have heard that before?
Yeah.
See that? Third of the room. You can't hear it enough. And so I read it every week.
You know, it's funny, none of that was set up. I had no idea what you had in there. I just was asking you this because I genuinely...
that just happened to apply. And talking about failure, I'm a storyteller. You don't mind that, do you?
No, I do not. And that's what I expected of you.
But talking about failure,
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
A fellow walks into a bar, and he's disheveled and drinking, hunched over, and in comes a 6'6" monster, bells, whistles, boots, everything. Pushes him off, right off the bar stool, inhales his drink. How do you like that, sonny boy? He says, well, Mr. I'm having a bad day. He says, I woke up this morning and got downsized out of my job, and I had to go home and tell my wife, and she left me, and they stole my car this afternoon, and now I come in here to commit suicide, and you drink my poison. You know I'm a storyteller.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and let me put it in reverse, if I may. We've never, because you tried twice. You're 0 for 2, so no. You told 2 stories up here. I thought they were pretty funny. On a 1 to 10, they were 2. Okay, yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. No problem. But
thank you.
We do have a tradition at our company. This has been going on now for over 50 years. Nobody who's a manager or who's hosting the meeting can open up the meeting without telling a story or a joke less than 60 seconds. Men and women, everyone. And this makes them a better presenter. There's a lot of reasons why I do it. So I was going to, usher in this little story, less than 60 seconds. And it's as follows. President Obama, President Bush, President Trump, up to heaven through the pearly gates. God is waiting. God says to President Obama, what do you believe in? I believe we have to eliminate starvation, face of the earth. Come on in. President Bush, what do you believe in? I believe we have to eliminate nuclear proliferation from the planet. Come on in. President Trump, what do you believe in? I believe you're sitting in my chair. So that's my 60-second thought.
Wonderful. Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.